Okay, in this video, what I want to talk about is the satellite imagery data. To be specific, I want to talk about the imagery data, satellite imagery data that was taken by the company DigitalGlobe in 2014, in March of 2014, a couple of weeks, about a week after MH370 went missing. This company started taking satellite images of the southern Indian Ocean, um near Sumatra, Andaman Sea, Straits of Malacca, and South China Sea. They started taking satellite images of these areas, and they put these images up on a website called the MH370 Tomnod campaign. And they put it up there so that people can go there and look for debris pieces and tag the debris pieces in the images. Uh, so in the first year that MH370 went missing, I, like many others, started to look at a lot of satellite images, and I started to put a lot of time and effort into analyzing them. Now, I would say that about 99% of the images that I was looking at, people were sending me images through the website, the hunt for mh370.info. I started blogging on that website, and so people started sending me satellite images, screen captures of various debris pieces. Now, most of the images that I saw, about 99% of the images I saw, were debris pieces that could be from anything. It could be, from an airplane. It could be from ship, container ship, whatever. So it was 99% of the images I looked at were just random junk. I couldn't identify whether it was from an aircraft or not. But there was about 1% of the images I looked at that, in some cases, it was very likely they could be from an aircraft. And in about 1% of the cases, definitely they're from an aircraft. And so it's the 1% of the images that I looked at that I want to show you, which are, I believe, evidence of two possible aircraft debris fields. I believe what this satellite imagery data is telling us, or telling me, is that two aircrafts, Boeing 777s, crashed in the Indian Ocean in March of 2014. One one debris field was spotted off the coast of Sumatra, and the other one was spotted down in the southern Indian Ocean at around 43 south. And so I came to this conclusion after about a year of researching the satellite imagery data and going through, hundreds, if not thousands, of images. I came down to these two locations as being highly probable that an aircraft crashed in these areas. And that's what started to make me first start to believe that there was something more going on with MH370 than just a pilot suicide theory. I started to contemplate, if there is a second plane here, then what really is going on? Is this a pilot doing this with someone else, or is this something like a state-sponsored hijacking? So this data here is what started to make me question the official theory more and more. So, anyways, so let me go to the image itself. Well, let me start back here. If you watched my previous video, I talked about how I believe MH370 was ditched here in the Andaman Sea. And this is based on witness sightings and a flight path that was developed by over 10 witness reports based on about involving 35 plus witnesses. So I believe, finally, I believe that this woman here, Raja, who was on an airplane traveling from Jeddah to Kuala Lumpur, she saw at around 2:30 p.m. Malaysia time. This would be 6:33 UTC time. She saw a plane floating in the Andaman Sea around this area, basically intact, just floating. And she reported that the minute she got off the airplane, she reported her sighting. So I believe, after analyzing the ADS-B radar data from her flight, I was able to ascertain exactly where her plane was at that time, which was in this location here. So I believe, and she was sitting on the left side of the airplane, so I believe somewhere in this yellow area is where MH370 was ditched, and where she saw the airplane. Somewhere in this yellow zone is where I believe it was actually ditched. And I do not believe it did a free fall like a nosedive. I believe this was controlled ditching, and I'll explain that to you in a second. So this was on the 8th of March. Now, on the 16th of March, DigitalGlobe took a picture down here and caught some aircraft debris down in this area here, which is about at these approximate coordinates. And this debris field was spotted about 250 kilometers to the southwest of where Raja spotted the floating airplane. So it is my belief that the debris in this satellite image is related to her sighting. I believe in this satellite image here, I'll put that up a little. In this satellite image here are the debris pieces of the airplane she saw on the 8th. Now, what I think happened was the plane did a controlled ditching. It basically landed in the water intact, but it suffered some structural damage as it impacted the water. And I believe over the next 8 days, due to the forces of the waves in the water, which can rise up in that area to several meters, the mechanical stresses put on the airframe eventually made the airframe break apart into pieces. And these pieces floated for several days, at least 8 days, to the southwest of her position, and were captured here to the west of northern Sumatra, in this location here at these approximate coordinates. Now, when I analyzed this on Tomnod for the first time, along with others, we could only determine the size of the pieces, but we could not determine location, because all the Tomnod interface gave us was a map number. It was on this map number, but we had no idea where the piece was. But we could measure the size of the piece. But I'll show you later how I managed to locate the location in just a second. But anyways, so we found this image, and we started to take a closer look at it. Now, what's remarkable about the image is that there's or exceptional compared to other images I've seen. Here we have at least 4 pieces: a fuselage piece, nose cone, tail fin, and what appears to be an engine from an airplane. And clearly, these are objects that clearly resemble that of parts of an airplane. And when we study them closer and look at their measurements, their size, and understand the scale of this object in the image, the wing piece on this piece here is about 100 feet long, which is very consistent with that of a Boeing 777-200ER. So the dimensions of this object is consistent with a Boeing airframe. Now, this can't just be any debris. We're talking debris here that's over 200 feet wide, approximately 200 feet wide, maybe a little shorter because it's missing apparently on the wingtip here. But what object 200 feet wide like that with this kind of geometric shape could it be? That was a question I was first asked when the person who showed me this image, Michael John, who was in the UK, he showed me this image in approximately April of 2014. And I'll show you his images in a second. But his question was very simple. If this isn't pieces of an airplane, then what the hell is it? What else is it? And for like the last 9, 10 years now, I cannot answer that question other than to say it's most probably pieces of an aircraft. That's the most logical explanation for this image. Now, why is it there? I don't know. Why? If at the time I didn't know why it was there. I just knew something that looked like an aircraft debris field was in that area. And upon further analysis that I've done recently on this, I took the fuselage piece and I enhanced that part of the image with AI. I upscaled it, tried to make it more clearer, but as you can see, we're using an image that has a resolution of 50 centimeters by 50 centimeters, so it can only do so much. And that's about the best I can do with that, um, with AI image processing. And what's interesting, it gives us some colors. There seems to be green over here, red and blue here, and some red over here. Now, why is it giving us this? I don't know exactly, but that's what results I was getting. And here I did an overlay with a CAD model. Uh, this CAD model here, I did an overlay. I'll go back here to show you the comparison and how close it matches geometrically. Now, it's not a perfect match, but it's really difficult to get the CAD model at the same orientation as the debris piece. So it's an approximate match. But I think it's a very good match. And it definitely, in my opinion, this is a part of a B-77 aircraft in that area. And so that's one thing I wanted to bring up here is the importance of this data, because I think what we're seeing here in this image here. Let me go back. I think we're seeing the debris field of MH370 in this location. And if you look at my previous research, I explained why MH370 was ditched in the Andaman Sea, and why this satellite image is perfectly consistent with the witness sighting Raja, who saw the plane in the Andaman Sea here. So it all fits very nicely, and I'll show you some drift analysis later that will show you how this debris uh, got to Africa. Now, what I think happened here after this image was taken, these larger pieces would eventually become waterlogged, and they would eventually sink somewhere in the ocean, somewhere downstream from where this image was taken. And the smaller pieces uh, that remain buoyant, those are the ones that made it all the way to Africa from this area. Now, yeah, so what I wanted to show you now, let me just shorten this now. I want to show you a simulation that was done by the Captio group, MH370 Captio group. And what they analyzed the debris, and they concluded that it's more realistic that the plane did a ditching rather than a free fall. The debris that was recovered was more consistent with a controlled ditching as opposed to a nosedive. So what I want to play for you right now is this part of the video, which explains, shows a simulation and shows how B-77 aircraft could break apart upon a controlled ditching. Here we go.
Particularly every time, so this is more realistic. But having said that now, okay, uh, the trailing edge can fail in ditching, but this is the flaperon on its own. The flaperon is on the aircraft. So how did the water get to the flaperon? So this is where we are looking also in other for type of analysis, like looking the complete ditching scenario with the aircraft. And there are many ditching scenarios, as you can see. The controlled one that we mostly speculate, but there could be another one where if the wing touches, you can see you have large turns. And there's many other scenarios as well that can appear. That's why for the current and future directions, we are looking to the most plausible scenarios, knowing that the sea was not absolutely calm. We have information on the waves that we can put. So this is for, let's say, we have to have a rigid model that represents properly the scenarios that are most likely for ditching. But many scenarios, of course, will lead in the breakup of the aircraft. And there's a huge challenge to be able to simulate the same thing with an efficient, simple, breakable model so that we can have a much more realistic situation. And more than that, even if we have the scenario where the water actually comes to large quantities to the flaperon to create the failure that we see, we know the flaperon came off the aircraft. So what is it what is the ditching enough to break off completely the flaperon from the aircraft, or there could be some other also extra event. And for that, we plan to analyze the attachments, or which we know very well from the report how they look after failure. We have in the company where I work for enough information to analyze and find what loads could break a structure in a particular way. And that will be very interesting because we can compare after with the forces we get from hydrodynamic or for impact. Maybe, as you can see there, the engines came off or whatever. So we are very excited with all this.
Okay, so now I want to go back here. Let me just bring this back up here. Okay, so if you look at that simulation and how the aircraft breaks apart, it breaks apart, and the engines can come off, the tail fin can come off, the fuselage will break apart. It did not show the nose cone coming off, but I suspect that that's what happened in this situation here. So I think that this satellite image is perfectly consistent with the controlled ditching and how the plane would break apart. And so these debris pieces were able to float for another 8 days at least, and probably maybe who knows how long after that until they eventually became waterlogged and sank. So, in my opinion, uh, if we're ever to find MH370, it's going to be somewhere downstream from where this image was taken. That's my sincere opinion on this. Okay. So I've done this analysis. I showed you the comparison. I made a AI image of it without any overlay. So this is what the image looks like without the overlay. This is with the overlay. This is the model I used to compare with. And now, yeah, so where were these pieces? So that was the difficulty part to figure out where was the location of the pieces. In the Tomnod interface, they never told us where the pieces were. They just told us it's on a map number, and these are the clouds, and you're looking in this part of the image, and you're right here. This is where this is, right here in the image. But they didn't tell you what the coordinates were. But fortunately, about a year after, or maybe 6 months after MH370, DigitalGlobe put all these images up on their website. So I was able to go on to their online website, and I was able to find the satellite image maps, the same images based on cloud comparison. I was able to match up the images. And by matching up the images, I could locate where on the image here, which is here, it gave me the coordinates of where these pieces are. So that's how I was able to figure out the location of these pieces and that they're off the coast of Sumatra. And here is the satellite image that was taken on. The pieces are in this part of the satellite image, and this is the ID number, and it tells you everything about the satellite and elevation angle, etc. And so, anyways, I have the metadata on this, and this image is now owned by Maxar, but that's where the evidence is of where I believe MH370's last known location was, right there. Okay. And now these are the images that were first sent to me by Michael John in the UK. He sent me these images first. And at first I looked and said, wow, that looks like an aircraft. And he showed me this image here, and then he showed me the signs. And ever since then, I could never disprove that these are not pieces of an aircraft. It's very possible that they are. And so that's one satellite image. I have three others I want to show you, but this is the one that shows the debris field of MH370. And that's my first debris field. Now, people said, oh, there was no debris ever spotted in the southern Indian Ocean. This is partially true. There was no debris ever found anywhere near that seventh arc. I've looked in those satellite images. I did not spot any debris that I could say with confidence was it part of an aircraft along that seventh arc. Nothing. They never got any wreckage down there. We never spotted any real debris field along the seventh arc in that area. Nothing was found. So that is true. However, in satellite imagery data that was completely ignored by all the experts because it did not align with the Inmarsat data, this area here and the next one I'm going to show you did not align with the Inmarsat data. So they never took this imagery seriously. They basically said you're suffering from pareidolia or it's just random junk and totally ignored what the image is telling us. Completely wrong. So my endpoint as to where MH370 crashed has been here since April of 2014 and has not changed. This is still where MH370 crashed, and I'm very certain of my opinion on this. But anyways, that's my analysis of this image, and I'll let others take a look at this themselves. I have a website here which has all the additional images up there, Michael's images as well as mine. I did a few other. See, here's a good comparison that Michael did for the engines and for the nose cone. Here in this image, there's what looks like to be a partial wing, and possibly a part of an engine in this image here. So it's all been well looked at, well identified, and I'm very convinced here. Here's the comparison of the tail fin. We predicted it was banged up a bit, so it's not a perfect match, but it's certainly size-wise, 20 meters. It's very consistent with the size of the actual airplane. So, and here's a good comparison of the nose cone. So, anyways, I put up that data on that website, and I showed you the simulation here. So, in my opinion, we're looking at that's the area where MH370 debris field was, and the wreckage of MH370, I'm certain, will be found downstream from where that image was taken. Maybe one day an ocean explorer will go check that out for me. Okay. So now that brings us to sighting number 2, the second debris sighting. This was down in the southern Indian Ocean, and it occurred down in this area here. There was, I believe it was on 23rd of March. These images here, this piece here, which is a fuselage piece that apparently has its wings broken off. It's about 40 meters wide. This piece was spotted down in the southern Indian Ocean in this area here, where I just showed you in this area here. Now, there was this piece also, a nose cone. And if you look at this piece here, you see the windows and you see the nose cone of the airplane, 10 meters approximately wide, which is consistent with the size of a Boeing 777. And in addition to that piece, there was also this piece down here, a third piece, which was the tail fin. This was spotted down in that same area, and this piece was about 20 meters wide. And it's very consistent in size and appearance with a tail fin of a Boeing 777. So we were able, using the online database, I was able to locate two of the three satellite images that were cataloged by DigitalGlobe. This one here, which was for the tail fin, was able to match it up with the Tomnod clouds and find the same piece in the same area here. And I was able to determine the position of this piece here doing that, and what satellite image it was in. This image here was for the nose cone, and I was able, doing the same process, doing cloud matching, determine where the location of that piece was in this image, in this image here. So I was able to determine out of the three pieces, two of them I was able to identify in the DigitalGlobe catalog ID in their database. The only one I was not able to identify in the database was this one here for the fuselage. I was able to know, I know the Tomnod map for it, but I do not know the catalog ID number in the digital, well, now the Maxar online database. So that's one piece of evidence I'm still looking for. But as you can see, there was, in that area, there was at least three pieces of debris that clearly could be from an aircraft. Here's a piece that, this image was sent to me by Patrick Tissot. He lives in France, and he started sending me these pictures here. And that's when I started to become interested in this site because of the images he was sending me. This is what it looked like on the Tomnod website. Here's another piece we found. It looked like a wing piece in that same area. Now, could this be the wing piece that Kid Oliver got snagged in his net? I don't know, maybe. This was another piece he found. This is the nose cone, and this could be part of an engine here. So this is another piece that looks like it's from an aircraft in that same area. And then we have this piece here. We're not sure what this is, but we can't say exactly what it is, but it could be from an aircraft. This is, some of these images fall into that category. It could be from an aircraft. It's in the area that were of interest, so it may be related. Here's another piece, shot of the fuselage piece, taken in this Tomnod map. This image was taken by the Australian Transport Safety Board, and they produced this image. Now, here's what's really weird about this image. It was found on the 27th. It was spotted on the 27th of March, and it was spotted by a New Zealand search crew. Let me pull that up here. Yeah, yeah, here. It was the Royal New Zealand Air Force crew that reported seeing. Well, what happened there? Okay, go back. So it was a Royal New Zealand Air Force crew that spotted this debris piece. Let's see if I have it up here on the image. Was it in here? No, it was in here. Anyways, I can't find it right now. But it was basically the piece that you see in that satellite image. And anyways, what is strange about this sighting is that they spotted a debris piece down in the area where debris was spotted in satellite imagery. And the very next day, the entire search was moved away. Let me get rid of this. Was moved away from this area because they heard pings further north. So let me bring up this image again back here. I'll show you this image. Yeah. So the New Zealand crew spots on the 27th. They spot debris in this area, and it gets photographed, and they also have it captured in satellite imagery. And the very next day after that sighting, the entire search is moved on the 28th to this area where they started to hear some pings. Then they moved it further north, away from this area here. They completely forgot this area. They just ignored it. It was as if they were trying to move the search away from this airplane and they didn't want it to be found. That's what it looks like to me, a bloody cover up. Those pingers were turned out to be completely bogus, and the New Zealand crew had spotted aircraft debris in that area the day before, and they completely abandoned this area. Total, either it was deliberately stupid, or it was just plain, blatantly stupid of them to do that, or they did it deliberately because they don't want us to find that aircraft. I think it's a cover up, and I think that's what happened here. They should, there's no reason they could not have investigated that debris sighting. Anyways, so we find out that there's two locations after analyzing, hundreds, if not, I don't know, thousands, whatever. But I analyzed quite a number of debris images, and it came down to these two locations that I just showed you that are very likely to have aircraft debris. So the first location here in the Andaman Sea, where I showed you that satellite image, this is how debris would have drifted from that area towards Africa. And this is why debris from MH3, I believe this plane is MH370, because the debris that showed up here was from MH370. And this is how I believe it drifted from that area. You can see at 14 months it begins to show up, but really at 16 months, if I move back here, 16 months it starts to show up in Africa. At 14 it shows up a bit, but after 16 months debris would have started showing up from this area into Africa, which is perfectly consistent with the time of the discovery. And it's also consistent with barnacle studies, and I'll talk about that in a future video. I'll talk about the debris evidence and drift analysis, etc. Okay, and this is how debris would have drifted from the southern Indian Ocean, where that debris was spotted, towards southern Australia. I suspect some of the debris went into the Antarctica circumpolar current, but it's possible some went here. And given the fact that we found debris on Kangaroo Island, and that we may have that guy Kit Oliver who snagged a wing piece in this area. It's very likely those are pieces of this airplane, and it's a different airplane than it's not an MH370 that crashed down there. Which brings us to this final image of the debris evidence. Here we have on two continents we have debris from two different airplanes. This is all debris from MH370, and over here, if you include Kit's piece as well in this area, or could be potentially, this was from another aircraft. So why is there aircraft debris from two different aircraft showing up on two different continents? It's because I believe two aircrafts crashed in the Indian Ocean in March of 2014. And this is why the satellite imagery is extremely important. I think we should have a second look at that satellite imagery. It's been almost 10 years and we have not found this plane. What would it hurt to take a second look at that satellite imagery? Which is why I have a petition going to petition the company Maxar Technologies into releasing the images, all the images that DigitalGlobe took in March of 2014 for the Tomnod, MH370 Tomnod campaign. All the images that they took for that campaign, I would like to have released by the company Maxar, so that we, the public, could have a second look at those images, be able to do a better analysis, be able to measure the pieces more accurately, be able to determine their exact locations more accurately by having direct access to that imagery. Right now, you have to buy that imagery, and if we're looking at buying imagery for four satellite images, it's about $500 an image, minimum cost. So I don't have the money to pay for that, and I don't think anyone else should. So I'm asking this company to release those images for free to the public, so that anyone who wants to investigate MH370 and those images can do so. It's been 10 years, almost 10 years now, we haven't found the plane. It would be helpful to be able to have these images released. Anyways, I'm going to leave the link up in my video description for you to either, if you want to participate in the petition, that would be wonderful. If not, that's okay. But at least I'm going to try to get these images released, and I sincerely believe they must be taken with much greater consideration than they've been in the past. Just because these sightings do not coincide with the Inmarsat data, and I've shown you that the data is very questionable now. This is the only data that we can use to find this plane, and that's why this data is extremely important. That's my opinion. Anyways, in the next video, I'll talk about the debris evidence and give you my analysis of reverse and forward drift analysis that I did, and hopefully give you some more info on that. But in this video, I wanted to just cover the satellite imagery data and how important it is. It was this data that led me to start thinking about there may have been two planes involved here. And this is why I find this data extremely important. Anyways, have a nice day, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks.